Jesse, can you hear us?
Yes.
You're coming on to tell us that we can't ask Tani Oluwaseyi any serious questions now. Is that what it is?
Well, you got to get his name right first.
Yeah. Is that not right?
I'm in the wrong room? Oh, you guys are waiting for Tanny.
2 weeks in a row, Jesse.
Yeah,
You're coming back for more.
I was like,
drivel again.
See you later.
See ya.
This is the Park the Bus podcast with Stephen Caldwell, Kevin Kilbane, and Luke Wileman.
Welcome back into Graham Leggett's for another edition of Park the Bus as we head into an international weekend where Canada's got a couple of games in Europe playing against Romania and Wales. We'll get into that. We'll talk to Tani Oluwaseyi. Do you want to say it?
Tani Oluwaseyi.
We should have asked him how to pronounce his name so Kevin can get it right.
Right,
Well-
I've got to admit, right, at the start, I got it wrong a lot of times. But
Did you?
Before the Gold Cup, I remember saying his name 20 times before I went on air, just to make sure that I
And
was...
then you got it right. You
Oh,
secured
hopefully,
it.
I don't know.
Well, I hear commentators say it wrong.
Tani-
A lot of people
Do you?
get it different.
Tani
Right,
Oluwaseyi.
okay.
You don't.
Tani Oluwaseyi is coming on the show, so we'll
Great.
talk to him after his move to Villarreal from Minnesota. What a difference that is in terms of MLS in Minnesota to La Liga and Champions League in
Brilliant.
Spain.
Great story, big step up, but excited to see how he does there. He does
really.
have attributes that could be successful in a league like that and in European football.
And he had a bit of a interesting couple of weeks in terms of planes, and I think it was 31,000 kilometres he flew, and passports. I think before the show is out today, we need to get Kev to tell us a couple of his passport stories.
Oh, his Russia passport
Because-
story's a classic.
Okay, so that I think we should
We'll
get
get to
into
that.
that.
We'll
Okay,
get
we'll
to
talk
that.
about later then.
But
yeah.
I have to say, one of my favourite days of the footballing year is transfer deadline day. And I just sit there watching television and seeing all of the reports of everything going on, and whether it's things that happen with the Canadian players, some big moves. We were
Worldwide,
waiting for,
yes.
for
Yeah.
Kyle Larin, for Derek Cornelius, for Tani Oluwaseyi. That was done a bit ahead of the deadline anyway, so he'd already been able to make his debut, and there wasn't that late panic. But we saw Mark Gahey's move fall down at the very last minute.
Yeah.
Donnarumma, where was he going to go? It's just like, you must have had some good transfer deadlines,
Yeah.
presumably. Did you ever move?
I moved transfer deadline day to Everton from Sunderland, yeah. That was the one, and that was very much off and on all through that summer. I think we talked a bit about it a while ago, but Southampton were on the cards for me that summer. I was going to move to Southampton. Sunderland had just been relegated from the Premier League, so I had a couple of options really on where I was going to go. And David Moyes, who I knew from my time when I was a kid, he was always there saying we might try and get this happen. And do you know what happened? Everton played Liverpool in the Merseyside derby early on in that season, just before the deadline closed. And Everton were well beaten. Remember, I think Steven Gerrard scored one of those famous goals, diagonal at Goodison. And Everton needed to make transfers, and it happened then. It was last minute.
So was it deadline day?
Deadline
And
day, I went.
Were you waiting for a phone call?
I wasn't at Goodison. I actually signed the contract at Sunderland's training ground. I signed for Everton at Sunderland's
And
training ground.
faxed through back in the day, wasn't
No,
it?
yeah, but you said to me a couple of weeks ago when you were talking about went to Burnley, no medical. Didn't do a medical because they had medical records, and the physio at Everton actually had worked with him before, so he kind of knew my body.
Yeah.
It was crazy, really. It was crazy. When you think
Somebody
about
asked
it.
me the other day how serious and important medicals are, and I said it depends how much the club wants you. Sometimes you see
Absolutely.
these day-and-a-half medicals where it's serious stuff. They're measuring your blood, your oxygen, obviously scanning your whole body. And other times it's like a little twist of the body, isn't it? And
When
then
I
you're
signed
in.
for West Brom, exactly that.
This
It
is
was
crazy.
generally touch your toes, and I could never touch my toes anyway. So it was like
they still took you.
halfway down my shins, and there you go, away you go.
Look
But
at the history, don't they? Medical history.
Yes.
How many times has he played? How often is he out the team? And if you're a guy who gets 40, 50 games in a season, they're going to sign off on you no matter what. They want you that much.
Because Emi Martinez was apparently sitting in the training ground at
love
Aston Villa
his move.
all
Yeah.
day waiting for his move, and it never came. And we've seen some of these documentaries now where you see things that are happening, players are actually in the other building,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
it
he was
still
crying.
doesn't, you know?
Martinez
say-
is crying to the fans, and then he doesn't make the move. He's going to go back now.
Unbelievable. It is unbelievable. And you look at the Isak move off the back of it. We'll come to that one later, I'm sure, as well. But that one that went across the summer, and you mentioned Gahey. Gahey's medical had been passed at Liverpool. Everything, contract agreed and everything. For that U-turn to happen, it is incredible how late in that window, right to that very last moment. Because as long as the paper's signed, if the facts because it still is a fax. They use a fax.
Still?
They used to use the fax. I mean,
Yeah.
no, I'm talking, this was till very recently. This was till like in the last 5-10 years. They were still using faxes to get these deals over the line.
Yeah.
So as long as the contract's signed, that paperwork doesn't have to be delivered.
No.
As long as that contract's signed, and they can prove that. So sometimes it's the last minute and it's signed.
I signed with about 12 minutes to go, I think it was.
Yeah.
Burnley, from Sunderland to Burnley. And as we talked about it a few weeks ago, I'd went to Burnley sort of 10 days, 2 weeks prior to that, met with Steve Cotterill, his staff, had a good chat, did a bit of a medical, and then went back, and things had to be in place for it to happen. It took right to the end.
12 minutes.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And I was in my house in Sunderland, in East Bolton, and we had a fax machine, and we were faxing it through, and I was panicking like mad, hoping that the fax way, you know.
You had a fax machine in your house?
Yeah, I did. I had a phone that had a big fax machine, and one of the big.
You were
fax
expecting
phones.
the transfer to happen then. You were ahead of the game.
I had it before that.
We better go
But
down
I had
Costco and buy a fax machine.
This big fancy phone at the time, you know, it was
Your
huge.
agent called you the week before. Make sure you get a fax machine in
to
the
send it
house.
through. And I was waiting to hear if it had been ratified and signed off on, because you panicked at the dying stages.
You don't know when that goes off.
Yeah.
I was very similar. I was absolutely in the last half an hour of the window, probably even, like you're saying, the last 15 minutes of the window, signing a contract. Fax goes off. Can I get confirmation that this deal's gone through, please? Because you don't get confirmation immediately. You're just waiting on...
I'm sure it's different. That was years
No,
ago.
look,
Now it's an email.
Yeah.
Look, the best is, you know, the guys that really want a move, that are expecting a move. They're walking around with their phones everywhere. They barely put their phone away till they start training. Normally, you go in the morning, you leave your phone in your pocket. These guys are walking with their phones, any ring, any text, they're texting all the time. And then you get the guys, and I've got a great story. A very good friend of mine at Portland Timbers now is an assistant coach, Liam Ridgewell. He was at Birmingham with us, and he wanted his move in August. And, you know, he packs his boots up in the black bag. Guys, see you later. Great working with you. You know, I'm off. He goes, he takes the boots. It didn't happen on deadline day. He's got to come in the Monday morning. Hey guys, I'm back. Here's my boots again. Back in the boot room with everything, and everyone's just laughing at him. Everyone's winding him up.
Yeah,
it must be embarrassing.
It's easily forgotten. I think all this stuff.
For sure.
I know Isak's move did happen to Liverpool in the end, and he got what he wanted. But if he went back to Newcastle, he would have been the dressing room itself would have been fine. There's no issues at all there whatsoever.
The fans wouldn't.
The fans wouldn't have. And I get that. But if he scores a few
Mark
goals,
Gahey, they'd got a video that came out as well that Palace had
I saw
made,
that.
ready to say thank you to Gahey.
Yeah.
And anyway, so that's a crazy transfer.
I'm glad Gahey stayed at Palace. Liverpool had a great window. I know
I think
Liverpool fans
I
will be
think
happy.
he's fine. Don't worry. He's
We'll talk
free.
about that a little bit more later. Fortunately for Tani Oluwaseyi, he got his deal done early, ahead of time. And it had been talked about for a little while. Would he be going to Villarreal from Minnesota United? It's a huge step up.
Yeah.
You think it's a good move?
I think it's an extraordinary move because if you're thinking about earlier on the window, it was Swansea and Preston North End from the Championship in England that were in for him. And we were thinking, that is a tough move for him to go into that league. This is a whole new level for him. So I think it's an exciting move for him. I'm really looking forward, just at the top of the show, we said, I'm looking forward to seeing how he adapts and what his attributes he's going to bring to La Liga. You know, if at times Villarreal might not have the ball through games and they're playing a counter-attacking way, you think that might suit him, that he can be going over the top. He might be coming on into games when the game's a little bit more open, if he's not necessarily starting every week. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to bring and how many chances and goals he's going to get within that league. And it excites me to watch him. And I think he's got to be really excited, I think, going into this season now, thinking about what can be for him.
Yeah.
Because I think he's on a shot to nothing there, really. Even if it doesn't quite work out for him at Villarreal, he's going to get a move somewhere else now.
In a World Cup year, doesn't it have to work out?
I think, but if we're talking about the bigger picture of his whole career, I get that, what you're saying. I think he wants it to work out that... I mean, he's going to be in Canada's squad next summer now. I think that move has absolutely secured that. So he's going to be part of the 26, I feel. And whether he's a starter or not for Jesse Marsch next summer, he provides value for Villarreal. If he scores a goal at a World Cup next year, Villarreal, if it's not quite worked out for him, as I'm saying, Villarreal will have money from him. That he'll be worth money next summer. That they can sell him on. So there's a great... From Villarreal's point of view, I understand it, and his point of view, I think it's a great move all round for him that they'll get the value as a club, but also he could provide something extra special for them, you know.
Every goal that he scores is going to be enormous, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's going to either score a goal in the Champions League or for Canada or in La Liga. It's going to be huge. So I think the scrutiny on him is going to increase. How he copes with that is going to be interesting. I think it'll be interesting to talk to him in a bit and hear what he thinks success would be at Villarreal. Is it just minutes? Is it goals and minutes? Is it establishing himself
I'm sure
in a starting 11?
I'm sure Kev will ask him how
I'll
many
probably
goals
get
he's
to
going
that,
to score.
But I think, to Kev's point, like, what a great move it is to go to a league like that, to go to an established club, a club that have Champions League football, that are, you know, not going to win La Liga, but pushing to be in
Top
Champions
4.
League places
Again,
all the time. He's got a buddy there in Tajon Buchanan. I think everything kind of fits really well for him to take the next step, to go to the next level. He's got to do that, no doubt about it.
I have to admit, I think at the start of it, just in relation to him going there, I still feel now it might be a step too far for him, just in terms of where he is and what I've seen from him playing for Minnesota and playing within the national team. But you never can tell what is going to happen in a career. You never can tell how a player is going to adapt. And this is the big thing now that's over him, the question marks that he'll want to answer. And he'll know that himself.
Look, he always gets chances.
Yeah, and he presumably with better players in a different... Like, he's going to get more opportunities as well at
and
times.
if he can be more clinical, he's going to be outstanding, because he always gets chances. His pace and his movement gets him chances. So if he can take that MLS form, even that international form, and get the same opportunities and tighten up his play and be clinical, he's going to be a great success.
If he's not clinical, though, he might not get the minutes. And that's something maybe that is a concern. Not a concern, but he's backing himself to go and be able to play minutes in a World Cup year. Yeah. Right?
You can't say no to a move like that.
Of course.
I know you want to play in a World Cup, and I know it's very important in football players' careers, but when you get offered that chance, Kev, as opposed to some of the other options we thought he might have had, you have to do it. You can't possibly renege on that. You got to go.
I think we are going to isolate it because it is a World Cup year, but he's got to look for longevity and what he's going to do across the course of his career. And if he's looking at his career, and as I said, even if it doesn't work out for him, his career now will be better for being at Villarreal. That's day-to-day training. That's the environment that he's in, the coaching staff, that high elite level performance he's going to be around. So whatever happens there, whether he's a success or whether he's deemed a failure, whatever's going to happen, the rest of his career will be great. Now, we are isolating, and I take your point. It's an ideal point that it's a World Cup year, that you've got to be flying going into that World Cup, and that is ideally what he wants. He wants to be an immediate success. But I look back at maybe my whole career, and honestly, and I've said it to you guys before, I stemmed everything on maybe an 8-month period going into the World Cup, and I would have loved to have had more World Cups, missing out in two playoffs, missing out for World Cup, which you look back and think you could have had 2 or 3 World Cup appearances. It didn't quite work out, but that one World Cup appearance to me was everything I dreamed of when I was a kid. It was everything I wanted. So I understand that this next 8-10 months is a huge period for all those Canadian players.
Especially because right now, and if you watch Stephen Caldwell's race for the roster, you'll know that the spot next to Jonathan David is not locked in.
Yes.
It's not locked in right now. He's got Jonathan David locked in.
Keep reminding me.
Currently has Kyle Larin in his starting 11. We'll talk about him as well, because that might change things now. But Tani Oluwaseyi must be sitting there thinking, I can be in that 11. I can get that starting. I watched Stevie's race for the roster. He's not locked anyone in yet. Maybe I can get in.
Don't forget Promise David scored back on the weekend. Promise David is back scoring goals.
I think they all think that as well.
I think so.
Of course.
Why not? Why
and
not?
They should.
Why not?
But now Kyle Larin has got that move.
Yeah.
So it's down to him and what he does with it, because I still think maybe, as you do with your 11, that Jesse Marsch knows him. He's played at a World Cup before. He's his most experienced player. Second in terms of scoring behind Jonathan David. Jesse likes the way that those two work together. I still think if Kyle Larin, and Jesse defended him big time the last couple of weeks as well, if he goes and scores goals and plays, he's going to start.
I think so.
It's very difficult for Tani Oluwaseyi's window, or Promise David's window, to get in is if Larin isn't successful now after this move to Feyenoord. Well, even though it's not as big a league.
Tani Oluwaseyi, Promise David and Daniel Jameson have to improve considerably. to be the partner for Jonathan David.
Well, Jebuson's number 4 now,
right?
And that's no doubt about that. Now he has to be considered as the partner for Jonathan David. He's 4th in line.
Right. Okay.
The other 3 are ahead of him, in my opinion, and it's going to be very difficult for him to push ahead of those other 3 guys.
Yeah.
But who's to say that he doesn't have a good season at Preston and that happens?
But I don't think Larin going to the Dutch league is that much of an issue in terms of you're not in La Liga now. Oluwaseyi's in La Liga. He can go somewhere where
if he scores a couple of Champions League goals, that's a bit different, though, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
The level's a little bit down the Dutch league for La Liga, no doubt. But he goes to a great club. He goes to a historic club, a club that if he does score regular goals, he's going to have a big enough profile in European football that we'll have him at the top, no doubt. But he has to score goals.
Yes.
And he has to score goals at a more prolific rate than what he's done in his career, really. Certainly in La Liga, where we say, 8, 10, 12 goals a year is excellent. If he gets 8 goals for Feyenoord, Kev, it's not good enough.
It's 15, 20, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And realistically, that's the sort of numbers that he's got to be hitting this year. And playing for a club like Feyenoord as well, that's the demands of playing as a number 9 for Feyenoord within that league. That yes, we all know it's a step down. We know, we've all watched Dutch football, that it is a step down from the Liga, from the top 5 leagues in Europe. But the intensity and the environment is probably no different. Well, it's a step up from Villarreal from Mallorca in terms of intensity.
Definitely.
That is a huge club within Dutch football, and the environment that he's going to be playing in probably is a step up from in terms of the day-to-day, but not necessarily the league, and that's the difference for him now.
That stadium in Rotterdam is one of the best stadiums I've been to in my career. I was on the bench there for Newcastle in the Champions League game when we famously won 3-2 to get to the second group stage back in early 2000s, and it was unbelievable. The noise, the intensity, the crowd are phenomenal in that place. So he's going to an ardent fan base. He's going to a great club, as we said.
He's got a pretty good goal scorer as a head coach.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He's going to learn some things from Van Persie, who was incredible. And for me, he still is the most complete of the rest to partner Jonathan David in terms of his all-round game. But he's got to get back to scoring goals. He's got to get back to the highest confidence where he's playing at his best. And I think this might give him that platform, but it's a big risk.
I know that we've spoke about it in the last few weeks as well. What's the chances that it's none of those guys that partner Jonathan David and it's a different system that's in place going into that first game? There's a chance of that as well.
I think there's a big chance of that.
So that's going to be something else for us to chat around.
You don't agree, Luke, do you? Why would he change?
We've got to see signs of that now, surely.
We will, I think.
You think we will this time?
I think we'll see it once in this window. I don't know from the start, but certainly at some point, I think Canada will go into a 4-3-3.
Well, I think talking to Jonathan David a couple of weeks ago, even when he spoke about the Guatemala game and how he felt they could have done things differently in terms of not chase the ball, 2 up front. Watching that game, you guys were calling it as well. I watched it immediately. I thought a change would have been made immediately, but it wasn't once the red card went in. But at half-time, I thought there was an absolute change that was needed. 4-4-1 or whoever the system, but it wasn't. And I understand why Jesse did it, and he explained that to us a little bit.
But Jesse argues that he's played that.
Yeah, within the system.
Yeah, but it's always a forward that's that kind of 10 or whatever we want to call it. The big change would be, does he take off a forward or does he start without a forward and play a Coney or a Saliba or some other midfielder in that higher position?
I feel international football, when you're playing against the elite sides, and we saw it in Qatar. We saw it in Qatar with Canada and how they struggled with elite midfielders. That 3-man midfield Croatian side, we know that. I used to find it, even going back 20 years now, that an extra midfield player gives you that stability in the game because you're able to hold on to the ball for a lot longer. Whether or not it's a 4-2-3-1 system where the 10's playing as a higher or a further forward midfield player coming in to sit in as a 3 at times. I think that's needed in international football because if you don't have possession of the ball for long periods, counter-attacking football at international level, Luke, I find that it doesn't work as well because you get dominated in the game. That's what I always used to find playing in those games.
That's going to be interesting on Race for the Roster when Jesse Marsh keeps playing his formation and Stevie actually changes the formation on Race for the Roster to what he thinks it's going to be.
The most interesting thing about Race for the Roster at the moment, you guys look really smart yesterday, actually.
Thanks very much.
Stephen's been in Canada now quite a long time. Stephen's hockey haircut.
This is getting
Yeah.
serious.
He's got a hockey haircut. He's got a mullet. He's got a mullet
I've
going
not
on.
got a hockey haircut.
Yeah.
I'm trying to grow my hair a little bit, and it's a bit messy at the minute.
It's
And I look terrible in race for the Rossi.
Yeah, I see
yesterday.
see a lot of kids when I'm down at the rink a lot with these hockey haircuts, and you're very much along those sort of.
You enjoying it?
Your hair looks good, mate.
I wasn't actually sure about the jacket
If you were
and tie
20,
combination
if you were 20
either yesterday.
maybe. Yeah.
He had a bit
He's
of
always coming for my gear.
I thought you both looked smart yesterday.
Thanks,
You both
Kev.
looked really smart yesterday.
Well, every Canadian got their move, almost. I'd say Max Crepeau's the only one.
Yes.
For me, that really needed to move.
one, I agree.
Didn't get it.
Well,
but when I look at the rest of them, I feel like whether it was early in the window or right on deadline day.
Talk of Estacchio that went and Nico Segura. We thought Segura would have gone.
Yeah.
Estacchio was the one that.
Estacchio didn't want to go in this window. He still feels like he's been at Porto a long time now. He still feels like he's going to get enough minutes and enough games between now and January
Needs to start, doesn't
to
he? That's the
assess.
thing, yeah.
And then I think in January he's got a big choice to make. Has it been enough minutes? Do I have big enough part to play?
He's also the sort of player that doesn't really have to prove anything at Porto for Jesse Marsh to include him in Canada's starting 11.
Yeah.
He can play those, start once a month or whatever and come off the bench, and it's not going to negatively affect his chances of starting for Canada because he's proven it, right? He's proven it at club for club and country. Not like when we're talking about Larin has to go somewhere and play.
And when you look at the styles of the player and the fact that Larin needs rhythm, he's a bigger body, he's got to be playing, strikers need sharpness. Estacchio, the way that he is, the fitness levels that he has, the professional that he is, and I'm not suggesting Kyle Larin's not a good professional, but
I know what you
Stefan
mean,
Estacchio is an unbelievable professional. He's going to be as fit as he needs to be. He's going to be doing extra. He's going to be doing everything that's required 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of a football player to be at his best when he comes to international camp, even if he's not getting as many
It might be a
minutes.
conversation we have going into the next window that he's not been starting. Then the wheels are already in motion for that transfer window in January for a move to happen for him, and that will probably happen
There's
quickly.
two
if he's
big
not getting game time.
signings that came in there. There's a 10 million, forget the names of the guys, 10 million player and a 22 million. So he's up against it. He's at a club where if they sign players like that, they're going to play ahead of him. But he's won that battle before, so don't rule out that he doesn't get back in. He's so mentally strong.
And he's played in a number of positions. He's actually played centre-half, which is incredible. He's played as a 10, more advanced midfield player as well. So there are options for him within the setup there, aren't there, where he can actually play.
Last one we should mention for now before we talk to Tanny is Derek Cornelius.
Yeah.
Moved to Scotland.
Yeah.
The wrong side of Scotland.
Wrong side of
Kev.
Scotland for me, of course it is, yeah. I'm interested for Stevie, see what he thinks on this one, because playing for Celtic or Rangers, you're judged on probably 10 to 15 games a season, really. All the Old Firm games, which are, there's 6 now Old Firm games, isn't there? And then, is there 8? There's 8 Old Firm games.
No. Six. Still 4, and then the two cup games,
yeah.
inevitably.
Yes. So he's got 6 to I'd say 6 to 8 league games competitively, and there might be 1 or 2 outside the Old Firm games, and then he's got Europa League games. So there's huge riding on those games individually, isn't there? There's a lot of pressure going into those games because it's building for a few weeks going into it, and Rangers haven't started the season well. So I'm interested to get your take on how they are going to go or how do you think he'll do? You've worked closely with him as well. Yeah. I think it's an absolutely different environment than one he experienced at Marseille, and even prior to that, before that Marseille move. So this is a huge move for him, playing for a huge club within a side that's going to dominate every week, virtually every week, potentially. And that's where I don't know, Stevie. I think this one, this move to me, I think to get back playing, and going back to your point earlier on about game time, is very important for him. But I think this is a more difficult move than a lot of people maybe envisage, I think.
Yeah, it'll be tough. It'll be tough because it's a very difficult time to be playing for Rangers. There's a lot of scrutiny in their manager, Russell Martin. They're not playing well. They had a heavy defeat to Club Brugge. So the pressure when you play for Celtic Rangers is always at the maximum. Now it's even worse. Every single thing has been scrutinised. There's a lot of apathy towards the team and the coaches. Yeah. It's going to be big. Not that I'm suggesting that Malmo is like Rangers, but in terms of the style of the games, they're going to have a lot of the ball. They're going to be dominant in possession. He did well at Malmo.
You think he can cope with the physicality? Because sides will,
I think he can.
you say they have a lot of the ball, but sides will go a little bit more direct at times.
Yeah.
He will be playing up against a stereotypical number 9 that's 6'3", 6'4". Can he deal with that side of it, do you think?
I think he can. I think physicality is actually a strength of his game when he's at his best. I think that the question marks will come where he's got to get on the ball, he's got to be brave, he's got to be progressive. He is good on the ball as well.
Yeah.
So if he goes there and he has that confidence, he gets the confidence from the crowd, because that's important. You got to get their buy-in.
Yeah.
They have to believe in you.
Yeah. Quickly.
And then you
quickly,
gotta have
You don't have much time to get that buy-in.
they'll judge him in 2 games, one
Yeah.
game, and that'll be it. And he'll have a tough battle if it's negative. And they're already in a negative mindset in Glasgow at the minute, the Rangers fans, because of how the seasons went. So that's the challenge, going there, establishing himself, building his confidence up, and then being the player that he can be. We'll see. We'll see. Does he have it in him? He sort of went to Marseille. We were so excited, and it never happened the way we hoped, because he never quite had that confidence to go and establish himself.
Bombito's locked in. Who's in the better club situation now? Cornelius and
Cornelius,
Fugeral.
100%. Playing at Rangers, Cornelius is in the better situation. I do think it was a mistake. Yes, I think it was a mistake for Luc de Fugerol's to go to Belgian football. I think he should have stayed in England. I think he should have got as high a move in the Championship or League One that he could have got. I really believe that, because I think the environment, I mean, if he had an option a Celtic at Rangers, that would be great.
That's interesting.
As well.
I feel the opposite to that. I think Belgian football for a year will be a really good move for him. Game time's very important again for him, because you can't get away from the fact he'd never played a league game before this season, before 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So to me, I think for his development, I think it will help him there.
Are you talking about his overall career development or
World Cup
development to get to the World Cup, to play in a World Cup?
I still think if he's played 30 games by the end of this season, and
For a bad team, though.
Yeah, I know that.
They're losing.
Yeah,
every week.
But
I got to ask you this,
imagine the
Kev.
experience he's going to
If
get.
you're Jesse Mars and you're 2 weeks, 10 days away for choosing that first 11, and let's say they've both done well in Belgium and in Scotland with Rangers, what games are you focusing on to say, I can throw this fella into this game?
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
the
the
one
environment,
thing,
the European games, the Celtic games.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the intensity around those Old Firm games alone, outside the Europa League, the European games for him, yes, that suggests to me if you can cope with that and you play well in one of those games, then you've got a hell of a chance of being.
Just answered this question.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it doesn't take anything away from me that just going back to that de Fugeral move and what he did, I still feel as though de Fugeral's development would be better, because I feel that he could have been swallowed up quickly going to a Championship club. I do feel that, because you would look at him immediately and go, he's not played a game.
Yeah.
He hasn't played a game, so he has one dodgy moment, and all of a sudden you're taking out the team.
It was a
because
gamble.
It's easy for you to take him out the team.
I think it would have been a gamble for him to have done that, and I think career-wise it might be better to bed into the Belgian league and play some games there. But I think if he really wants to be in that starting 11 for the first game, because
that gamble might have had
the problem,
to,
and that's what we just talked about. Because I actually agree with you. For his career, slow and steady, it's not a bad move.
Yeah.
So, but maybe that's what they should be thinking long term. How am I going to play at the World Cup in 4 more years? Or not go to the Championship and
it is highly likely. I mean, the way qualification is going to work, Canada should be at the next whatever. Should always be at a World Cup now. The way qualification is going to go.
I think he would have played in the Championship though, because I know him reasonably well, and I just think he's got the type of personality that would have. Coaches want to pick this lad because he has something about him. He has this personality, this charisma to his play that you try and find a spot for him in the team. And whether it would have been centre back in a 2, I don't know, in the Championship, or is he playing in a 3, or is he in a full back?
I go back to position. If he was a left winger or a centre forward or a midfield player, I think it would have been easy for him to go sit on the bench, come on for 20 minutes, have a good game, start the next game. Centre half, you have to be a starter every week, and you've got to be dominant and be a leader. And for him to go into a Championship club and whatever, if I'm looking, say, lower-end Championship like Sheffield United, or top-end...
Bottom.
Top-end...
bottom of the championship you just described there.
Whatever level you're at within the championship, you're expected to hit the playoffs.
Yeah.
And get promoted.
Yeah.
So
there's not many championship teams who don't think they can make the playoffs, is there?
Yeah.
Every one of them going into the season, even Sheffield United.
And that's why being bottom doesn't make any difference right now. The one thing that just occurred to me there is we're talking about Canadian internationals making big moves to Europe or big moves within Europe, and is it the right move or could it have gone there? And they have options. They have options of places to go.
Yeah.
I've been here 20 years now, and there have been so many times where an international squad has been released. Mm-hmm. Even in your time when you came to the country, we're talking 2015, 2016, and you look down the roster and it's unattached. These are now players that have different places they can go and different good places they can go. So this is not a bad problem to have, considering a decade ago we were talking about players not even being able to find teams.
It's a strong recruiting environment now, Canada. Yeah. It's an area where clubs, big clubs, big leagues around Europe are looking to try and find players. They really are, because there's value there. You can get them usually reasonably cheap. There's a big sell-on value, or they're going to become established stars at your club, Kev. It's really changed.
It is amazing when you look at David Buchanan, obviously now Oluwaseyi. I get that right again.
You did well.
Thank you. But you've got 5 lads now, Champions League football, and you look at Canada's ranking and where they've been and where they've come to now. Are they top 30 now, I think? Are they about 28, something like that? 29 or something?
Around about 30.
Yeah, around about 30. So you look at where they are. The profile of player now suggests that is absolutely right where they are. And they can now seriously say, we can compete with any of the top 16 sides. Now, not necessarily saying they're going to go and dominate against one of the top sides, but it puts them on a different level with the guys that they've got playing. And outside those 4 or 5 players, you've got Alistair Johnson. I know Celtic didn't qualify for the Champions League this season, but they've been in the Champions League. They've been there. They've done it. You've got... I'm trying to think of some of the names within it now. I mentioned Stachio, but you've got 7 lads now that are playing Europa League, Champions League football. Moise Bombito's another one. Sorry, I never even mentioned Bombito. Cornelius is playing that level at Marseille. Now he's going to be playing.
Going to get it. Oluwaseyi's going to get it.
You've got 8 lads playing European football, Champions League and Europa League, or maybe even Conference League. That is unbelievable. And I look at it from my own point of view, like seeing my Irish side now and how far we've fallen off the level. Canada's rise in comparison to Ireland, it's just been a total changeover with the level of players that Canada's produced. So you guys have seen it, you especially have overseen that, Luke, and what's happened in the last 20 years. It's remarkable. You can't get away from that. I played against Canada 20 years ago, maybe now, and I think we won the game 3-0. And
where was that?
It was in Dublin.
Right.
In Dublin, and Canada coming in, we were thinking this was going to... And it was an easy ride. I have to say that. It was an easy ride for us. There was no problems at all for us. Should have probably won 5 or 6 on the day. And Canada now are way better than so many of the mid-team European sides now, where they are. They're so much better than so many sides now.
Some great moves, some great stories as well, and we can tell one now on Park the Bus because we're going to be joined by Tani Oluwaseyi after his move to Villarreal, live from the Canada camp in Romania. Well, it's time to welcome our big guest for this week, and what a time it has been over the course of the last few days for Tani Oluwaseyi. Now in camp with Canada ahead of games against Romania, after making the move from MLS, Minnesota United, to Villarreal in Spain. Tanny, it's Tanny time here on Park the Bus. Thanks for joining us.
No, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate you guys having me.
How are you? How's this week been? Does it all still seem a little bit unreal?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind, a lot of flights, a lot of moving around, but, you know, I'm happy to be here with Canada. It gives me a little bit of time to think back on everything that's happening. I really appreciate it.
Share with us, the viewers and the listeners on Park the Bus, Tanny, that journey, the number of flights that you had to take and the hoops you had to jump through to make this move happen.
Yeah, no, so basically the gist of it is I had to get my Nigerian passport renewed, and that wasn't as straightforward as I wish it was going to be. ended up having to fly to Nigeria, which meant I needed a visa to do that. So I had to go to Atlanta to get the visa from my last game in Utah. And then from Atlanta, went to Nigeria, Lagos. And then my Canadian passport needed to be renewed. And then I flew from Lagos to Canada, to Toronto, and then got my Canadian passport renewed. And then flew over to Spain from there.
He sounds a bit like me with all these passports
Yeah,
that need renewing and not getting everything sorted. Fair
story.
play
Yeah,
to
you
you.
got a few.
I tell you what, Tanny, congratulations. What an incredible move it is. I think we're speaking on behalf of the three of us here and probably every Canadian soccer fan. What an incredible move it is, and I'm sure it's going to be great. But I always used to remember when I joined up with the national team after moving, I don't know, it's a nice feeling, I suppose, when you meet up with lads. How's that been then, getting back settled after the big move with the rest of with the guys in there?
Oh, no, it's been incredible. I think Canada has kind of become my constant now. The one thing I've done, fairly often, coming to camp, seeing the guys. So, I'm still not fully settled over in Villarreal because it's been less than a week so far. But, since I've been here, guys have been incredible. Guys have been congratulating me and, letting me know they're happy for me. So it's been awesome to be here so far.
Obviously, it's a step up in terms of going from MLS to La Liga and to a club like Villarreal, some of the stadiums you'll play in, some of the teams you'll play against, the opportunities that you're going to have. What is it that excites you most about this, especially given the context of where we are right now, 10 months out from a World Cup, and you're also, as part of this move, presumably hoping to try and force your way into Jesse Marsch's starting lineup for World Cup games here?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is that it's a challenge, I think as a player, the worst thing you can do is become stagnant and, refuse to develop. And for me, I think there's still levels that my game can reach. So going to this level or going to La Liga will expose everything that I need to work on, everything that I need to get better at. And I know myself, I know what's gotten me here, and I know I'll put that work in and just continue to improve, not only just to make the World Cup squad, but just for myself and all the goals and things that I set out for myself in my career.
Tanny, I'm sure you had a lot of options, a lot of clubs that were interested in bringing you in. Why La Liga and why Villarreal?
I think the biggest thing is, the challenge that it would provide for me. It's been my dream for as long as possible to play in a top 5 league and to play Champions League football. So when the opportunity presented itself, for me, it was just a matter of, being confident in myself and in my abilities that I could do it and making the move. And, like I said, sometimes you just have to make a jump. Sometimes you have to just jump over the edge and figure it out when you land, as opposed to making what some might say is a safer move and, being able to exist. I think sometimes sink or swim is important because you figure out a lot of things about yourself as a person that way.
I think that's an interesting point, Tanny, you make there. Sometimes you never do know how good you're going to be. None of us could ever get in a position to realise, you can never see what's going to happen in the future. And I think this move probably signifies that for you, I think, suppose, Tanny, that you're going into a huge league, playing for a massive club, playing, as Luke suggested there, playing in huge stadiums. It's a big step up for you. But you can figure it out as you go. And I just wondered, have they given you, Villarreal coaching staff, a sort of plan on what they expect from you across the course of the next couple of years?
Not in detail, mostly because I haven't been there long enough. And, from the day I got there till now, we had a game and guys are going away for national team. But, from the game we just played, they were very specific about what they wanted me to do. The way they wanted me to play, and my coach, the one thing he told me is like, hey, listen, the whole time you're here, just make sure you're having fun, just make sure you're playing. If you make mistakes, if you do anything, it doesn't matter. Just keep going and just make sure you're having a good time while you're doing it, and just enjoy the time I have here.
What specifically have they said to you in terms of your game, though, Tanny? What are they expecting of you?
I think my game is fairly obvious. My biggest strength is, running in behind, and my runs off the ball. And from jump, the game we played this past weekend, that was the one thing they wanted me to exploit. They wanted me to stay high. They wanted me to pin the center back. And when the balls came in the channel, They wanted me to chase them, hold them up, be strong, and connect plays with the guys. Those are things that I know I can do very well. And there's other things that I know I need to improve on as well that, might not have been emphasized, but will definitely come into play once, we're playing Champions League and we're playing these really good teams.
How did you find your first minutes in the league, Tanny? What was the major differences between MLS and La Liga? I know it was only a short period off the bench, but what did you find from your first minutes?
I think the first thing that stuck out to me immediately was just cleaner. They're cleaner on the ball and they're faster on the ball. Those are the two biggest things that stuck out to me. So, for me, I'm lucky enough to have the national team where we play at a pretty high level and we play against some of the best teams in the world. We've played some of the best national teams. So I've seen that pace before. I've seen that how clean guys can be on the ball. So it wasn't a shock to me. I think obviously I was also prepared that it was going to be a higher level. So, the biggest thing was just that we were 1-0 away from home. And talking to Tejan after, he said, listen, most away games are always going to be like that. You're going to be pushing. The crowd's going to be really into the game. So, and that was exactly what it was like. But overall, I wouldn't say I was shell-shocked at all. I think it was about what I expected.
What's it like having Tejan there then? That must have smoothed things over a little bit. Did you talk to him before the move?
Yeah, I spoke to him a few times. There's so much going on that I didn't get to speak to him as much as I might have liked to. But, every time I talk to him, and since I've been there, he's been very gracious with me, letting me know if I need help with anything. He's there for me. And if I need answers on things or if I need a little explanations or whatever it is, he's been great to give me answers and to just be there whenever I need.
Obviously, you moved to Canada when you were growing up. You then went to college, having had a decent youth career here. You went to college, got into MLS, and I remember at the time you talking about what it meant to you and to your family as well, that you were able to turn pro and become a pro player, and that, the gamble to move to Canada is something that paid off for your family. They must be even more proud of what you're achieving right now and how much that must mean to you and everybody involved and close to you.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to my roommate about how excited my dad's been about the move. And he's been, calling and texting guys who helped me out all the way since I was 10 years old and just showing his gratitude for them and telling them that I wouldn't be here without them. And, it's a dream come true. There's been a lot of sacrifice that have led to me being here. And, it takes a village a lot of times to raise people. It's the exact same thing in my case. There have been so many people, my parents, who've made the biggest sacrifice, my brother, my sister. They're really pumped for me. They're really excited. They can't wait to come to Spain.
And how does it feel now? You're back with Canada. You talked about that familiarity. What are you hoping to get from this window, Tanny, in terms of minutes, performances, goals? What are your objectives over the next two games against Romania and Wales?
I think the biggest thing is from a team perspective. We know we're less than a year out. We know we don't have that many more games or trainings before we're gearing up for a World Cup. So I think for us, it's just a matter of just continuing to lock in and just continue to grow as a team. There are things that we've done well over the last couple of windows, whether it was at Gold Cup or even where it was at Copa. But we know there's another level we can go to. We know what the level is like out there. So for us, it's just a matter of taking advantage of every single training session we have and making sure that we get better every day.
Tanny, what do you think you need to do to put yourself in a position, as Luke was talking about before, being a starter next year and come next summertime for Canada? What do you need to do between now and then to make sure that you're starting in the 11 come the opening game in Toronto next summer?
I think it's fairly straightforward. I think Jesse asked us of very specific things, and I think I've done a good job of doing those things so far. So it's just a matter of continuing to do that. And for myself, the goals that I have for myself and the things that I know I can get better at. I fully believe if I can get better at those things in combination with everything he's told us, me, and the other strikers, that I'm going to put myself in a good position to put the decision in his hands.
You know what, we're going to say that we had Jonathan David on a couple of weeks ago, and I asked him about his personal goals, and he said, I don't set them, which I always think about strikers having certain numbers in the head that they want to hit. You've got to double figures this year in the MLS. What do you think you can achieve playing in La Liga this season?
He's not going to give you a number.
Yeah, he has to.
He's not
you've got to give me a number, man, because strikers always have a number in the head. I know they do. I know they have a number.
Oh, I'd be lying if we said we probably don't all have a number. There's definitely a goal we set in our head. But, you know, for me, it's a completely new league. It's a step up for me. And I think the biggest thing for me is getting comfortable. Getting to a point where I know that I can hang with these guys who are playing.
Is that just game time then, Tanny? In your head, game time, most important thing for you?
Game time, yes. It's always important to play, but more about what I do with the time I'm given. Yeah. Whether it's 60, whether it's 30, whether it's 90, whatever it is, just making sure that I'm the best version of myself with whatever I'm given. And then if you do everything in your power with the moments and the minutes that you're given, you kind of have to leave the rest to what may be.
So you said 10 goals, yeah? Was that right? That was your...
To be fair, 10 goals wouldn't be bad. So.
No, I'd take that. Yeah. I love it how these guys who used to play, who would never have answered that question either.
I'd have just
ask it all the time. And questions that you know that players aren't going to...
I'd have answered the same way that all these guys... I'd say, no, I don't set myself any. I just want to just play every week.
Asking, though, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Just a couple of last ones I'm interested in. We talked to Jesse Marsh last week, and he was talking about all the conversations he has, not only with players, but agents and different clubs that contact him. How much was there a dialogue between you and Jesse when you were deciding what your move was going to be and where you were going to go this summer?
You know, I think Jesse knows he's very aware of everything that's happening, but, you know, me and him spoke a little, but not extensively. I think he trusted me and my agent to make the right move because, again, we know what's at stake. We know what everything with where everyone else is, and he knows, and I know the biggest thing is game time, playing at a good level and playing well at a good level. So for me, the one thing I said was that the way he was going to call me, Tanny, that's a terrible move for you because he knows it's a great move for me, and he knows that I'm capable of hanging at this level. So, you know, we've had a little bit more conversation since I've gotten to camp, and the message from him is that he's really happy for me, that it's going to be a challenge, but he thinks I'm up for it.
Okay, I got to ask him this. Did you ever imagine you'd be on the verge of Champions League football? Champions League minutes, when you hear that anthem and you get out there, it's incredible.
Yeah, I was saying to one of the guys here that last week the one thing I was most excited for was the Open Cup semifinal that we had, and now I get to look forward to a Champions League game. So, you know, you never really know how these things are going to happen. You never know how the games, where the game's going to take you. So, for me, I'm just really excited to live out a dream that I've watched it and thought about for as long as I can remember.
So it's also not a bad switch. Nothing against the US Open Cup or Minneapolis, St. Paul area. But, you know, there's a few nice beaches around where you are now, and it's not going to be quite the same cold start to the season or end, is it? You picked a good location.
Yeah, I think this is the first time in a very long time that I'm not going to experience a winter. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't excited about it.
Just finally, because these guys have both played internationally, but that was a long, long time ago when things were a little bit different.
Long time ago.
When maybe in camp they would spend downtime going out sometimes, Kev, with the Irish side.
I never went out. I wasn't that sort of person.
Yeah. Very different days now. What are some of the things in your downtime that you guys do as a squad maybe, or how do you fill your time when you're away from the training pitch in the national team camp? Are there games? Is it what goes on?
We're a very tight-knit group. So a lot of the things we do together, I think you've probably heard about it a bunch, but we play so much Mafia. Like it gets to a point where sometimes we have to say, okay, guys, if we want to enjoy this game, we can't play every single night. So that's the biggest thing for us. And that's the reason why we're so close, because everything we do in groups, we do it in big groups. So the biggest thing for us is that we're here for 10 days. And then we don't see each other for quite a while. So we do our best to spend that time with each other. And then me and my roommate, who I think you guys might be talking to as well, Joel Waterman, we do a good job of catching up and just making sure that, you know, we're on the same page with everything.
When you get out for a coffee or anything like that, when you get a chance to see the city, do you do that?
Yeah, for sure. If we go into cool cities like we're in now, like in Bucharest, there'll be mornings where we have some free time, or after training, if we don't have meetings or whatever, go for a walk, look for a coffee, job and just see what's around.
Did you pick your roommate, or was he forced on you?
Honestly, I had 2 different roommates to start when I first joined the national team, and I ended up with Joel, and now we're really good friends. So it's worked out really well.
Good roommate.
Good.
Yeah.
Good roommate there.
It makes
Joel
it-
Waterman, great lad.
Makes a big difference, though, doesn't it? I'm sure if you've got someone who has some irritating habits that you're around, you know.
Sounds like he didn't like his last roommate.
That's
so
what I'm
much,
saying. You
know.
said you've moved on.
I want to know who that
Who was
I
the
had
first
no
one?
say it moved me, but it's worked out.
Tanny, appreciate it. Listen, congratulations on the move.
So happy for you.
Thank you guys.
All the best, and
Yeah, all
we
the very
appreciate your time today.
Thank you guys. So good
Good luck.
talking to you.
See you,
the best.
Danny.
This is the Park the Bus podcast.
A fascinating chat there with Tani Oluwaseyi. I loved his attitude to it's not about how many minutes I get, it's about what I do with them. And that is exactly what you want to hear from somebody. And, you know, listening to that, I kind of think that he's gonna be successful here. He's
I
gonna
think so.
He's gonna have a good time at Villarreal.
Well, I liked his you know, his smile, and he's obviously smiling because he's made a big move and things like that. But you can tell as well. Another one like Jonathan David a couple of weeks ago, he's relaxed about the environment that he's moving to. He understands that it's a huge step up for him, and he understands what he's got to do to maybe attain certain goals or however we want to say those goals. If he's got, but he'll have numbers in his head, and I'm sure he's suggested that. Of course he will. But it's interesting point. We said it earlier on, didn't we, about you never do know how a player's going to go, and he knows that himself. He kind of thinks, well, I'm in a bit of the unknown here about how I'm going to produce and how I'm going to get game time. So if he gets enough minutes, the chances will fall for him. I'm sure of that, and you said that earlier.
So he asked these stupid questions to players about how many goals you're going to score.
I thought
how many is he going to
intelligent,
score?
interesting
Because
questions.
I know
How
he
many is
knows.
he going to score?
I think if he gets 5 to 7 goals, he'll have done well.
Kev?
Yeah, I'd go along with that. 7, I'd say. Yeah, 5 to 7. I think
Yeah,
that's
if he gets double
that's
figures,
not
incredible.
Yeah, that's not a bad return.
Incredible.
Yeah.
What I liked about his interview was I didn't see a guy who was grateful to be there, that felt like he had achieved the pinnacle by getting the move. I saw a guy that was very realistic about what was coming. I liked his comments about recognising the cleanliness of players in the top leagues. Their touch, Kev, isn't it?
That is a thing that no one gets.
Yeah.
We do, and it's maybe. I don't want to be overcritical. You watch the MLS, the clean passing, midfielders, and you know
Passing and
it's a
touch.
noise.
Yeah.
It's a noise when you hear it. When you're close to players, and it's like a motion
Yeah.
that they've done continuously. The pass is crisp, the touch is clean, as you say.
Controlled, on again.
Everything, Luke. It's so top draw, like in everything that they do.
And people talk about the speed, and of course it is quicker, but it's only quicker because of that quality.
Yes.
You know, it's not necessarily physically quicker, it's the quality that makes the game quicker. And I think he's recognised that. I think he's had the taste of that with Canada, as he mentioned.
Yeah.
But he's recognised that if I want to play here and be very successful, I have to get cleaner and better in my technique. And if he does that, he's going to be a success, no doubt.
Am I the only one here who has not heard of the game that he mentioned that they play in the Canada camp?
I've heard that, Mafia.
He said it,
Yeah.
and I didn't even want to embarrass myself.
No, exactly. That's why I'm waiting to ask you guys rather than
I've
bringing
never
it
heard
up.
of
You
it.
thought it was a board game?
I thought it was
No,
a video
okay.
game. I was
thought you
thinking
thought it was a board game.
anyone over 21
Well,
shouldn't
listen,
play video games. So that's what I was thinking in my head. And
yeah.
I would have embarrassed myself if I said it.
Sorry, hold on. Anyone over the age of 21 should not play
Should
video
not
games.
play video games, no.
I sort of agree with that myself.
What about with your kids?
You can play. I'll let you play the Nintendo Wii or whatever. But
I shouldn't play FIFA with my kid.
No, absolutely not. No.
We were at the studio on Monday, and I don't want to embarrass them by saying their names, but some of our crew who were not working at that time were playing video games on the big screen. And you know who they'll be. Think about who they might be.
I know.
They're playing video games. What's going on here? Is this a frat party?
Yeah.
And they're playing video games waiting to work the cameras at the halftime show.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's another thing. Mafia, what I think, is a game where someone's a culprit, you know, you sort of... I don't know nothing about it, is it? I'm trying to explain it.
I know what it is.
I've heard that
Right.
somebody's, the culprit or whatever, and you
Like
get
a murder
kinda,
mystery?
Yeah, sort of thing.
Like
you get
Cluedo?
Yeah, kind of. Cluedo, you're really aging yourself there, Kevin.
So, no, but I know sometimes in camps now they take their
Yeah.
own PS5 or whatever. Players take the... You've got a lot of downtime.
Kev, I'll never forget the 1 year, right? The guys had what was the wee console called that they held in their hands?
How's it go?
It was like this. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
the
They played
handheld
Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
And they
Nintendo.
played it every time. Burnley lads, Robbie Blake, Chris Eagles, Clark
remember that.
Carlisle,
All
they
the
all
lads
had
used to
this
be on that,
console,
yeah.
Stevie Jordan, and they would play it in the bus, and I would moan constantly about, put that thing away and let's chat, let's talk. Put it away. Actually, it was foresight, the early days of the mobile, because it was that, you're in this thing. They were having great fun as a group of 5 or
Play
6.
cards, have a chat, whatever.
We used to play hearts, we used to play poker, we used to play brag, we used to play different card
Yes.
games, which was amazing. Then when I got to MLS, these guys would play board games in the hotel.
I quite like that.
Good
I like
fun.
that.
Settlers
Like
of
Scrabble.
Catan,
I
these
like
kind of
that.
no, like Settlers of Catan again. Don't ask me to explain
Yeah.
this game, even though I've played
Settlers
it.
of what?
Catan.
Settlers of Catan.
It's a strange game.
I've
You
never
sort of
heard of it.
build a village and you sort of have to navigate. It's, you know, you roll a dice and you move along and it's pretty crazy.
What
You
about
can tell his kids are older because I don't have time to play any games.
Yeah, well, that's
But, right,
true.
he's sitting there playing board games.
Yeah,
watching...
you play board games.
I was bonding with
games.
my guys. It was bonding with my
play
teammates.
I'm trying to teach my kids dominoes at the moment. Things
Yeah,
like
it's
this.
a great game.
Like, you know, they're better than playing video games. Surely no. But what about you must have had the quizzes as well in
Quizzes
your
were
time.
great.
We always
Mickey
used to have
Holland.
the quizzes.
Mickey
International.
Holland was the quiz master, wasn't he?
Whether that was at Sunderland, where they would have started, Big Quinny would have probably
Mick used
introduced
to love a
them,
quiz.
and quizzes with internationals. We used to be.
Fergie used to love a quiz at Man United as well.
We used to... I mean, we still have in MLS now. We try to have one Caldwell trivia question every week.
Yeah.
And this week he completely failed. In a
Stuff
game he
and
played
played
in,
in the game.
he couldn't even tell us who the goal scorers were. 3 goals.
It's
He
understandable.
got one of them. Who got the other 2?
Yeah,
No,
it's
it's a
understandable.
lie. I
You got
got
one.
3 out of the 6 goal scorers.
Is that...
Yeah, that's
And
understandable.
you were one of them?
I was one of them.
Yeah, it's
Right.
understandable that. A lot of games. Stevie's played 600-700 games in his career.
Scored once.
Not
here,
quite.
Surely
Well,
you remember.
maybe you're right.
I forgot where I was going there.
Board games.
No, the quiz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember, so back in the days when we used to have the Champions League and the Europa League, we'd do all these Champions League games on a Tuesday on TSN, be in because you'd get the double games, so you'd do so many games across all the different channels. Then we'd do Wednesday, and it came to Thursday, and it was Europa League, and we were like doing a game from
Bit
Kazakhstan
tired.
or wherever
Yeah.
at 11 in the morning, and we got a full day ahead, so we had to find some way just to keep going a little bit. So
Keep
we always
stimulated.
used to have your quiz. Statman
Yeah.
Joe
Yeah.
would come up with a
Give
quiz
us a
for
quiz.
every Thursday. Every
Yeah.
Thursday. So we'd have from the start of the show try and
Good
Yeah.
old days.
Yeah.
try and work out what
Christian
these,
Jack used to win often.
Yeah, because he
Easily.
He knows everything.
Stato,
Yeah, he was great.
He's a stat
yeah,
man.
but that
We
was
should-
what we used to do
We-
on the Europa League Thursdays.
when we
We'd
used
get
to-
by with the quizzes.
So when we would fly with Scotland, we would get a per diem in an envelope as we got in the plane to wherever in Europe, and you know, a couple of £100 or that, and we'd gamble in the plane. So we'd play cards to get to the where we were going. So you'd either walk off the plane with nothing in your per diem or a big chunk of per diem. You know, it was amazing. They were the best things. I used to love it. Guys hanging over the back of seats. It'd be like 6 or 7 players playing. Coisty would be playing with us as a coach. Walter would be screaming up the plane, "You're not supposed to play. You're a coach. Come back and sit with us." It was amazing.
The best times. The best times.
So, talking of best times, we did mention there with Tanny having to fly for his passport in Nigeria, then come back for his Canadian passport. Kev does get into these situations, doesn't he?
He does.
Where he, you know,
He's
it could
forgetful.
only be Kevin.
Yeah.
It could only be. And one of them was in Russia with
This
your
should be a
passport.
section.
We did
Right.
We should still one of
Kev's
these stories
troubles?
every week.
Yeah. Well, so
like when he puts his
I
thing
mean,
on
the
top of
AirPods
the
in
car
Qatar,
and runs.
the
Oh, the
AirPods.
AirPods that went missing in Qatar.
yeah, that was linked to my phone that I knew where they were. They were somewhere in good to still learn now.
You
I
got to
still
tell
the guy
the
off
Russia
still
passport.
coming up,
The
but-
Russia passport story.
So, right. So I was in Russia. I was working. I was working for a British broadcaster, the BBC. When
2018 World Cup.
2018 World Cup. So to get a visa for Russia was hard enough in itself, and you can well imagine the time it was. So I'd done a couple of games. I was co-commentator on the games, but I ended up back in Moscow. So I flew to a place. I think it was Kaliningrad. I think the first place I went to, and I was back in Moscow. So anyway, had I think we had a night in Moscow, and then I was due to fly out to Kazan.
A night.
The following day.
A meal and
it
a
was
couple
meal.
of wines.
It was a meal. I might have been working actually in Moscow. I might have been working anyway. So we did a game, and I was. We went on the train back on the underground system. So we were on the metro. Back to our hotel. Anyway, get back to the hotel. I get me bag. I'm ready, packed for the morning, because I'm due to fly to Kazan, which is right in the east, and I've got a long flight in the morning to fly to Kazan. So anyway, we get ourselves all sorted. I get a wake-up call at, I think, about 7 a.m. the following morning. 7 a.m. Where's my passport? Passport's gone, right? So I've got to be on this flight in 2 hours' time. So I get my bag, and obviously you can imagine I'm going through everything in my bag. Everything's getting dumped out. Trying to find my passport. It's gone. Passport's gone. When was the last time I had it? I had it yesterday when I was out and about, on the tram, on the train. Has it fallen out of my pocket? What's happened to my passport? Anyway, so...
Some Russian guy still to this day being Kevin Kilbane.
Yeah, so I don't know. Anyway, so I ended
Messy
up...
here.
The guy I'm driving with says to me, look, just get to the airport, we'll figure it out when we get there. So I get to the airport, and I have a Russian translator that's translating to the airport staff, can this guy get on? I've got a passport card, I've got all different forms of ID. No, you're not getting on this flight, you need your passport, or you're not getting on this flight. Anyway, so we go and then speak to the police. And one of the police, local police, says to me in his Russian accent, he says, lost passport, not in Russia, not in Russia. And he starts laughing at me. So the guy starts laughing. Anyway, so even he was laughing at me that I'd lost my passport in Russia. So long story short, I ended up getting on this flight. How I got on this flight, my translator worked wonders for me, got me on this flight to Kazan. So I got off at Kazan. How am I going to get back from Kazan? Because I'd have had the same scenario. I'm stuck in Kazan, far east of Russia. How am I going to get back to Moscow? And I've got to be back in Moscow in 3 days' time or whatever it will be to do another game. So I do an interview on Irish radio and just chatting around the World Cup and things like that. So they goes, what's the story? Well, and I drop in, well, apart from losing my passport, everything's going well. So this, then, you can imagine those. They're like you guys.
Yeah.
They know me a little bit as well. Lost passport. So I do the game. That evening after the game, I get a phone call. My phone rings. It's a private number. So I pick up the phone. Hello, Kevin. Hello? Hello, who's this? Who's this? Kevin, this is Enda Kenny. Yeah, all right. Now, Enda Kenny is currently he was actually the ex-Irish Taoiseach, the Irish Prime Minister.
Right.
So the Irish Prime Minister calls me up, right? And I said, yeah, good
Someone
one.
winding you up,
I'm going,
right?
yeah. Anyway,
One of the
thanks for
boys with the
So
radio
he said,
show.
I believe you've got a problem with your passport. I can sort this out for you. Do you need any help? And I'm saying, yeah, anyway, no, I don't need any. Anyway. He went, no, Kevin, this is Enda Kenny. You know, I've been passed on your number by someone. I can help you with your passport situation. Just leave it with me, a couple of days, and you'll have it done and dusted. So anyway, long story short, because I'm probably going on a little bit here, I end up getting this flight back from Kazan, the same sort of scenario. Basically talked my way onto the flight to get the flight back from Kazan to Moscow. I arrive back in Moscow, go to the Irish embassy in Moscow. I have a passport there waiting for me.
Yeah.
So
friends in high places.
Had the Irish Prime Minister been listening to the radio show?
I
Or
think
did
someone's probably tipped him off.
He's a regular listener to the Kilbane segment
there's an
on the
Irish
radio.
citizen in Moscow that's lost. He doesn't have a passport. Can you sort
That's
it?
what happens when you're a legend in
Yeah.
Ireland,
Exactly.
eh?
Yeah.
That's the story.
Well,
So-
Stevie's passport did end up not in Qatar with him during the time in Qatar, which was
that's
also a funny story.
Maybe next week.
Yeah,
we'll
next
do that
week.
that's
one.
another
Maybe
one.
next
Passport
week.
stories between Caldwell and Kilbane.
That was funny.
Yeah.
The passport will not leave Qatar. Next thing we get it tracked, he gets an email. I'm sitting next to him. He says, my passport's in Abu Dhabi. Anyway, that was a good one. Also got some help that day, didn't you?
Yeah.
I
Yes,
remember.
yes.
The transfer window. But,
Yeah.
but before we get to that one, Trent Alexander-Arnold not in the England squad. He made his move, of course, back in the summer going to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Do you think that move is turning out to be a wrong one?
At the minute, it's not good. It's not successful, for sure. He's struggled to
Yeah,
settle
yeah.
in there, and I don't know if he's in their best 11. I still think Danny Carvajal gives them more, and I think maybe more suited to the way that Xavi Alonso wants to play. He's going to settle. He's going to be fine. Was it the right thing to do, to leave English football, to leave Liverpool? I don't think so.
No, I know. Well, again, it comes down to, we've spoke about it throughout the show today. playing for certain clubs, you've got to make a mark quickly. You've got to be an instant success, almost do it in the first 4 or 5 games. Now, he's had the Club World Cup off the back of that, now going into a season. He's been judged on a lot of games now. It's not as if he's just got the start of the season. So, look, his abilities suggest to us all he's going to be a success. But if you're not getting picked for your national team as a Real Madrid player, that's very unusual.
It was a shock, wasn't it?
Total shock.
Oh,
Total
my gosh.
shock.
Enormous shock.
Yeah.
I can't believe he didn't pick him, Kev.
I know, I can't. Considering the ability that he's got, you think he's going to be Tuchel's man there going forward. And as much as we talk about all these Canadian players with this World Cup year that they've got, imagine Trent Alexander-Arnold now. He's only got 3 windows. He's got 3 windows to hit before the World Cup, 4 windows, maybe whatever it is, including friendlies.
Yeah.
He's not got a lot of time now to force his way back into Tuchel's plans. It's incredible.
We mentioned earlier, off the top, some of the different transfers around the world and some that didn't happen as well. But I seem to recall in the weeks when I was not on the podcast, one of the times, did he say that Isak was going to stay at Newcastle?
Yeah.
Was that you?
Yeah,
You were 100%...
Adamant.
Adamant.
Yeah, adamant.
It was, it was a play.
How'd that work out?
Stevie said it was a play for a new contract.
I have to say,
I have my suspicions that there was a bit more to it than just a play for a new contract at Newcastle, to be honest with you.
I have to say, maybe a little bit of my bias because I started at Newcastle.
Naivety.
No. Let me
Very
finish.
naive,
Let me
Stevie.
finish.
Very naive.
I spent a long time at Newcastle. I love that city. Great club. I'm a little biased, but I'm very disappointed in Alexander Isak's behaviour. I don't know if I could ever truly support him again. I just think the way he went about it, I'm not bothered that he wanted to go to Liverpool.
Would he have got that move
No.
if he'd have acted any differently? If he'd have acted differently from what he did, he probably wouldn't have got that move. He probably had to do what he did to force that move through.
So what will stop him doing that again in 2 years when he wants to go to Barcelona or Real Madrid?
Nothing.
So why...
But Liverpool know that. Liverpool know he's that kind of player
Okay.
or that kind of guy, right?
But how can you trust a guy that does something like that when you're asking
I'm
for
with
people
you.
to buy into
I'm
the
totally
club?
with you. And I
It's
know
the
for a
message.
fact, in my heart, I could never have done that.
No.
I couldn't have
Not
done
like that.
No way. Absolutely
Not
no
like
chance. But I've seen it happen so often with so many players now where they do almost the unthinkable. It doesn't affect him.
But was this a different level, Kev?
Did he
go...
go? He did go.
I can't remember a player doing it quite as dramatically and as emphatically as he did this time.
No, I think it's... But it's... Again, we're in a different time where everything seems unique, but it's not unique because he's done what a number of players have done. It's just gone above and beyond to another level.
Yeah.
I think this has happened so often, so many times around world football now that when a player does that...
Was Wissa not similar, though, with Brentford?
Yeah, true.
And then where's he gone?
It was similar.
Where's he gone?
Where's he gone?
Yeah, he went to Newcastle.
So
they all do it, one way or another. I hear what you're saying. It was similar, but it wasn't
as
quite to that
egregious.
level.
Yeah.
He didn't want to train. He didn't want to play. Like, he was sort of being vocal about the fact he wanted to leave.
Yeah.
But he wasn't public. That statement that
he
Alexander Isak made was
He
ridiculous.
unfollowed Brentford on
did it.
Instagram, and that's the
Yeah.
biggest crime.
I think he made a
That's the
statement.
biggest judgment these
Did
days,
he
isn't
not
it?
force something? He said something on Instagram.
Did he
too,
make a
didn't he?
statement?
I think he
Did
made
he?
a statement on Instagram
Okay.
along the lines of...
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to stick up for Wissa and go against Isak because it suited Newcastle that way. It's poor. It's poor.
Yeah.
The clubs start it by showing the interest and tapping them up, let's be honest.
Yeah.
There's a phone call, whether it's Arne Slot or someone else.
I know.
They call Isak, they call the agents. It's all happening in the
Absolutely.
background. Then the player forces the move. And so what is the point of contracts? At the moment, we're starting to say, if guys can just do that with 3 years on a contract,
But
what
are
is the point?
Newcastle not slightly to blame themselves off the back of it, though, Stevie, themselves? Could they not have foreseen this situation happening, whether that would be a new contract, whether or not... he spoke about guarantees, promises and guarantees that were made to him, and they didn't fulfil them. So, it works both ways. And as much as I could never have done it, and I genuinely believe myself when I say it, because I couldn't have done what he did, but clubs would throw him under the bus in an instant, absolute instant, if he wasn't producing and he wasn't in a position where he was going to make them money.
Yeah.
That's what they would do.
But what do you mean by throw them under the bus?
Well-
They wouldn't say, your contract's cancelled. off you go.
But they can
But
get
what
up
I'm saying to you is,
to
could they-
Rashford.
Yeah, they can put him in the reserves. They can make him train on his own. They can do all of that.
Could
But
Newcastle-
ultimately, he still has
I
a
suppose
certain amount of control.
what I'm asking then, could Newcastle have foreseen that and said, well, look, let's just make sure that your contract is what you want. Let's make sure then that we're valuing you at 130, 100 and whatever, 150, 60 million dollars.
Here's the wages that
suggest that you are that type of player.
Yeah, and for some reason, they seem reluctant to do that. I think they seem reluctant to do that round about the time that they won the Carling Cup, whatever it's called these days. I get the name wrong, the League Cup, when they beat Liverpool at Wembley. They could have done it round about then. They probably should have done it, but they decided that they did not want to blow up the wage structure, give him 300, 400 grand a week, then have to give Bruno it, then have to give Sandro Tonali it. They decided not, and I think that was the real start of the rot. And the last thing I'll say, look, Newcastle have been in a little bit of disarray for a while now. For the top all the way down, the structure of the club is destabilised since Amanda Staveley left. They're needing leadership. Hopefully it's coming soon, but I think the structure of the club has been off, and I think in some ways that chaos allowed Alexander Isak to do what he did and to sort of pull it off.
Yeah.
Not saying whether it's right or wrong, but Mark Gahey behaved in a completely different way.
Yeah.
And was there for
And he's a
Crystal
hero.
Palace, played every single minute. You know, can't go against what he did there. And then he had that move pulled right at the end.
Yeah.
If he'd acted like Isak, he'd be a Liverpool player right now.
Maybe. But his morals, his instinct to do what he did, to be respectful, I totally commend it. And at the end of the day...
And the club didn't help him.
No.
Because now it's not happened.
Right, but Mark Gahey...
On a free transfer next summer.
Yeah,
though.
exactly.
Yep.
He'll get what he deserves at some point.
Yeah.
And Mark Gahey recognised that Crystal Palace gave him the platform, just like Newcastle United gave Alexander Isak the platform to be his best, to be a world-class striker. Mark Gahey's become an England international and a very established player within world football, Premier League football, and his day will come, but he didn't go about it in a way where it suggests to me that you lose trust in a player.
No,
Kev.
I agree. I mean, you look, Nicholas Jackson moved to Bayern Munich, hasn't he? A very similar scenario. He's almost said, I'm gone.
Chelsea tried to bring him back, though.
Yeah.
On the weekend.
Yeah.
He went to Bayern, had the medical. They wanted to bring him back. He said
because
no
it was
chance.
a loan and they forced the permanent and they wanted the money. I mean, I think FSP's really caused all of this chaos.
Yeah.
Because there's all these things floating around. Players want to go here. Players want to do this. They want to be at that club. And then these clubs are trying to balance the books to make sure that they're not under any kind of sanctions or point deductions. And it's caused this chaos amongst the football establishment that they're always trying to wheel and deal, let's say, in terms of where players go and what they get from. Is it a loan with a view to permanent? Is it a loan with an obligation to buy in the summer? It's gone really weird. It must be very difficult for executives to figure it all out these days.
I know it is. And you look at
Liverpool.
Liverpool spent the best part of $500 million through the window. It's unbelievable
Premier
what they've
League,
spent. Yes.
over £3 billion.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and
it's almost $1 billion more than the last total.
I saw someone suggest that Liverpool have probably had the best transfer window ever in the Premier League.
Yeah, maybe.
And potentially around the world in terms of the way that they've strengthened, including Flop Wirtz that you think. But they did bring him in.
No, I know. Genuinely, what I think.
They did bring him. They did bring him in.
I would say he struggled again at the weekend. I personally think he's nowhere near it. That he's not doing. But I think Isak helps him.
He will.
I think Isak's going to help Wirtz. He's different from Ekitike totally. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to sit in one position. He'll go that way away from the play rather than Ekitike is a bit of a. I don't know. He's a. How can I describe him, Stevie? A bit of a maverick.
He's erratic.
I think Isak...
I mean, he's quality, but he's...
Isak will be good for Wirtz.
So, Kev, you know the Premier League better than us. Does Wirtz have the attributes to be... I guess that's what you were saying a few weeks ago. I don't know if he's got that blistering pace.
I know, honestly. It was... And I judged him off that one game in that Palace game, right? But he looked good in the Palace game, in the Community Shield game. But it was so... low-key the game. It was, and he was getting his... And I thought, he isn't going to get that next week. He's not going to get that in... And now teams, after 3 or 4 games, are really up to speed. And He's got some lovely touches. You've seen some nice little bits from him,
Yeah.
but he's not having an influence in the final third like I bet. I don't know his numbers, and I'd love to know his numbers. Chances created when you were watching him playing for Leverkusen and everything.
Lower, much
way
lower.
lower.
Yeah.
And that's solely down to the intensity and how he's been restricted to any sort of space.
You mentioned Leverkusen. Ten Hag gone two games
Oh,
into the season.
what about that? What about that one? Unbelievable.
Sold half his
2
players.
games, 3 games, including
All
the
the
cup,
players
whatever it will
gone.
be. I don't understand how that's got to come down to the club. How can you fire a manager after 2 games when you have obviously got a recruitment process that you followed and you have interviewed numerous guys? I'm sure of that. You set on Ten Hag. You look at his credentials and what he's going to bring to you. You listen to what he's got to say and his long-term plan, his long-term vision. And then 2 games in, he's gone. Considering, as you say, everyone that's left the football club.
You know who should be fired? The board and the CEO.
Absolutely.
For giving him the job and that contract and what he's probably going to cost to package him off as well.
Absolutely.
Poor.
I believe he's still being played by Man United anyway.
Yeah,
I think he's
been
still
paid by 2.
Yeah.
There's so many transfers we could talk about, but we also do need to, this week, mention what happened in the League's Cup.
Yeah.
And by the way, Seattle won, beat Miami. Got to mention Azaze De Rosario.
Yeah, brilliant.
D-Rose kid.
Yeah.
He was on the pitch at the end.
It was
Dwayne
amazing.
De Rosario was
His
there,
wife and
Canadian legend.
his
and
mum was
Azaze
there.
managed
It
to
was
score, played
amazing.
in the Canadian Premier League. You know, it's such a great story to have Azaze De Rosario. But
I watched the semi, Luke. I watched Galaxy Seattle, and I really liked what I saw from Azazi. I've not watched him for a little while.
Yeah.
Obviously, followed him a little bit early in his career. And I saw Dero at BMO Field on Saturday night for the Montreal TFC match. Had a good 5-10 minute chat with him and said, your lad did so well. He's got great attributes. He's got size. He can run in behind. He held the ball up well. He brought others into play. And he told me, you know, how proud they were of him, looking forward to the final. And then when I saw he scored, I sent him a quick message. It was a great moment. And you know, what a sort of advertisement for perseverance.
Yes.
Because, as you mentioned, he's got a legendary dad when it comes to North American football. He's been bouncing around a little bit, never really quite settled in a home. And he gets to, in my opinion, over the course of 10, 15 years, easily the best club in MLS, the Seattle Sounders, the way they go about things. Brian Schmetzer is outstanding, the way that he develops players, the way that he signs superstars. He brings it all together. They all go behind, you know, the one common goal, team goal. And the way that he's integrated in there, I really think it's a perfect platform to kickstart what could be a successful MLS career.
yeah, so really good for him. But the scenes at the end of the game were not good at all. There was even some fighting between fans outside after the game, but it all stemmed back to what happened on the pitch, and it appeared that Busquets maybe threw a punch at somebody.
Definitely did.
Luis Suarez spat at one of the Seattle coaching staff.
Yeah.
It's just disgusting.
Where is
The way
this
it
in the list
finished.
of Suarez misdemeanours that he'd done over his years?
It's not in the top 3, is it?
No, I'll tell you quickly one. I was commentating during the World Cup in Brazil when he bit Chiellini. And again, I'll tell a little one around this one. I had a night out the night before, as it turns out. I was late up. But
Every single story
Was another meal?
starts with,
was
I
it
was
another
out the night
meal?
before.
It was another meal, yeah. It was just a couple, nothing daft. Anyway, so what happened was, right, so I was told by my boss at the BBC, look, it's only going to be a highlights package that day, so you don't have to, it's not going to be, and I wasn't at the game, I was commentating off the monitor because it was only a highlight package that day, so there was no pressure on anyone. I think it was a dead rubber, the game, I think that's right.
Yeah.
It was Uruguay and Italy. Anyway, I can't remember the full scenario around the game itself, but I turn up, a little bit worse for wear that day it was. And anyway, and Suarez bites Chiellini in the game. So I was, you know, trying to get my words out, and I was using words like, he's bit him. He's bit Chiellini. And then my boss said to me, well, that's not the right term you should be using there as well. Or whatever term I used, it was wrong. I said bitten him or something like that. He's bitten him or something. Anyway, so that was my Luis Suarez story when he was biting Chiellini. But he's had a number of things, Suarez, in his career, hasn't he, around...
But there was just no grace about what happened at the end of that game.
Yeah.
No. From a side that is supposed to be the leaders in Major League Soccer in terms of these legends of the game that are coming in, and
we all grew up back home. We all grew up in the UK, and I'm sure we're all the same, that spitting is disgusting.
Disgraceful.
We were told by
Yeah.
our parents, our coaches, that it's the lowest of the low. You know, like, it's football, you have a bad tackle, whatever, things happen in the game. But you never, ever, ever spit on anyone in any walk of life. Never mind on the park.
It's one of the reasons why I dislike Cesc Fabregas so much, because he was spitting on one of our coaches when I was playing for Hull. So again, went way down in my estimation. Lack of respect for that guy, totally. And if you go spitting on players or spitting on staff members, I agree, it's the lowest of the low. You give someone a punch or whatever, I don't mind that. I don't mind taking a punch, but someone spits in my face.
Yeah.
I'm
going crazy.
Did you ever have that, though, in your career?
I was actually spat at in Eastern Europe playing against, I think, Yugoslavia in the 21s. First time I experienced that. That was just from the corner. Bit of grappling in the penalty area. Someone just spat in my face at the side. And you're going crazy, you're going mad, but then it's looking to cause a reaction, to provoke someone. You give them a punch, you get a red card. So
if I ever got spat on, I might have got sent off.
Yeah.
Because I certainly would have.
Yeah,
I certainly would have.
Absolutely.
Went through the guy the next chance that I got.
So what happens to Suarez? I mean, it's a Leagues Cup, so technically it's not going to impact. MLS cannot suspend him for MLS games because it's a Leagues Cup.
Suspend them. Find a way to suspend them. There's millions of kids watching. They're the flagship team in North America. They're one of the most globally recognised teams because of Messi and because of Suarez and Alba and Busquets.
Do you think after Messi's ban
Rodrigo
recently, where he was banned for games, that the MLS are going to give another ban to an Inter Miami player? That's where they're going to... Because this then is going to... Because there's clearly... Well, it looked to me like there was a bit of animosity between Messi and Don Garber at the end of the game. And you're creating more of a rift down the line with, as you say, the flagship team from North America, the flagship MLS team, and you're going to ban another player? Do you think that's feasible?
I don't know how to answer that. You know what I think at the front office at MLS at times, but they must ban this guy for that. What kind of message is this sending to young people around the world? That's okay, that is the way to do it, and that's what we'll accept in our league, even though it was a sort of cross-league cup competition. He needs to be given a ban. There needs to be a message sent. And Miami lost complete control at the end of that game. It wasn't just Suarez. We talked about Busquets' punch. There was Weigand was throwing somebody over at some point because a team totally outplayed them, totally dominated them. They can't handle it. They've got too big for their boots. They have too much importance, too many superstars, too much status within this league. Something needs to be done to bring some equality to that, in my opinion. And it's not a good sign for them heading towards the playoffs, because you can wind them up, you can get under their skin, you can affect them, and everybody should be taking Brian Schmetzer's playbook and doing the same thing to them moving forward.
So Inter Miami's not winning the MLS Cup this year,
I don't think so.
No.
Let's go full circle and finish with Canada, Romania and Wales to come. What's a successful camp for Jesse Marsh? Are these games they should be winning?
Winning's a little bit strong, but if they don't lose, I think it'll be a very successful camp.
Good teams as well. Good window. Good quality opposition.
Good games.
Yeah, so I think Wales have been in good form under Craig Bellamy, so I think it'll be interesting to see how they go there. And Romania, we saw them. They were a bit of a surprise package in the last Euros, weren't they? We weren't expecting an awful lot from them in how they qualified, but they showed a lot of... They were really exciting to watch as a counter-attacking side, how they played. If I'm trying to think of some of the goals. They did really well. So a different test, something that we called for Canada to play going into Qatar, playing outside your region. I think it's a must really going into a World Cup. So
good, solid teams. What have we've had? This will be we had Holland. Tough game.
France,
we had France, they did well. Ukraine, they were outstanding.
Copa America, of course, as well.
Yeah, but I'm thinking European teams. Now we've got another two coming that are like solid European teams that have aspirations to be at the World Cup. I wouldn't say that there's, the Italys, the Englands, the Spains, certainties to be there. Although Italy, I probably shouldn't have picked them there, should I?
You're not going to upset those Italians again, are you?
But not the super established European teams, but good ones. So if Canada can go through these games without losing, can compete, can show that they can break them down, because that's something that we've had an issue with. Because these teams will get behind the ball, Luke. They'll be tough to beat. If Canada can break them down, score a few goals, I think it'll help Canada being away from home. That
Romania will be expected to be in possession. Romania's style is to play counter-attacking way. They're going to have probably 5 to 10% more of the ball than they normally would have in a game. I think that'll suit Canada. We might have to see Canada play a different way to open them up.
Sit back a bit?
Perhaps play in possession of the ball, how you're going to open a game up. But I always think Canada could be at the very best when they're playing a counter-attacking way.
Yeah.
And playing against Romania, who might have a little bit more possession than they normally would. I'm looking forward to seeing how the pace of Oluwaseyi or Buchanan, Oluwaseyi. Oluwaseyi. Thank you. Right, there we go.
You got to write the whole show till the end.
There we go.
Just call him Tanny.
Tanny. And promise whoever they've got that's going to play for them. There's a bit of pace in Canada's side, isn't there? So I think there's potential for them to play like that as well.
He's got a lot of opportunities over the next few days to get it right.
I'll say it 20 times before I go on. I didn't say it 20 times today. That's
both games are live on TSN, starting Friday against Romania. So we'll see everybody then.
This is the Park the Bus podcast.